Hello, everybody. This is Paul Tinkle, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. As many of you know, we have had a rodeo here in this part of the woods for many years, and we're going to have one coming up in just a couple of weeks. And it's my pleasure to have Coach Thrasher with us. And Chase, first off, I want to tell you how proud I am to see you step in here behind a fellow who had been doing this for a long time. And without any question, we didn't miss many beats from the transition period that you've had to come in and be the rodeo coach of the University of Tennessee at Martin.
Well, I appreciate that. Of course, Coach Luthi was a legend and a mentor to a bunch, and is very big shoes to fill, as I've said many, many times.
How did you meet him?
So, Coach Luthi recruited me my senior year of high school. He began talking to me probably my junior year of high school at some of the high school rodeos, and I ended up coming to Martin as a freshman and college rodeoed under Coach Luthi for 2 years, and then began being his assistant coach for a year as a transition into hopefully me getting hired in it. I ended up getting hired as the head coach when he retired.
What's your home?
So I'm from Columbia, Tennessee originally, so a native to Tennessee.
Did you grow up on a farm?
Yes, sir. My dad and granddad all rodeoed. It's kind of a family thing back home.
Now, let me go back here for just a second. Okay, so your family's full of cowboys, okay? But there's a lot of work that has to be done on the farm, and that's where you got your roots, maybe?
Yes, sir. My granddad and dad always had cows, run a cow-calf operation back home. Nothing big, but enough. And we spent summers in the hayfield and whatnot, just like anybody else on the farm.
Did you graduate from Columbia?
So I graduated from Cullioca Unit School, which is right outside of Columbia.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any ag business courses and so forth?
I was involved in the FFA. I was a chapter vice president as a junior in high school, and then the chapter president as a senior in high school.
How important is agriculture to you?
Agriculture is huge. It's everything I do. It's a big part of rodeo and just a big part of our lifestyle.
Speaking of lifestyle, family, tell me about your family.
So I'm married. We got married a little over a year ago.
And her name is?
Molly. She was on the rodeo team when I was in school here. And then
this wasn't love at first sight, was it?
I don't know. So it's kind of a funny story, but
well, tell me.
So me and her brother had been friends. We come to school together. She's a year behind him. And then when she got to school and we met, it wasn't long, and we started talking and dating.
Mm-hmm. And you had a long-time relationship with your horses, I guess, as well.
Oh, for sure. The horse I rode all through college, I started riding him my junior year of high school. Everything I've ever won was on that horse.
Mm-hmm. What's the horse's name?
His name was Pete Eddy.
You still got him?
No, sir, I don't. Young girl in Friendship, Tennessee's got him, and she high school rodeos on him now. You
ever see your horse with somebody else on your horse's back?
For instance, that I do, and now that she owns him, and I just couldn't be more happier that he's doing, hopefully for her, what he done for me.
You didn't have any separation anxiety when you sold your horse or gave your horse?
I mean, they're important and pretty personal, but to see them go on and do take care of somebody else is just as rewarding as them being with you.
So how about your wife's horse? You said she did barrels here?
Yes. So she's got a horse she's had for a few years now that she thinks the world of. I ain't real sure she ain't higher on the hierarchy than I am. Probably under the dog, though. The dog is above us both.
The thing about people don't maybe realize, I don't want to use the word connectivity, but we'll call it chemistry. Your horse and you know each other real well.
Yeah, you got to have a relationship with your horse. if you don't know what each other's going to do, the next step, it just kind of hinders you. Just like kind of like a basketball team, if the point guard don't know where your post player is going to be at, then it's just not smooth. It's not fluid. Mm-hmm. But as long as you're with your horse and you are kind of on the same page, you work together as a team.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't know that many people really understand, the amount of time, amount of work, and the amount of money, and particularly vet fees. I mean, there's a lot to go on. Saying, "Oh, Daddy, Mommy, I want a horse for Christmas. I want a horse for my birthday."
Yeah. Owning a horse is definitely have to be ranked with being a luxury, just because the amount of money that comes with them to take care of them properly, and you gotta treat them like family, or you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah, the thing that I don't know what the an annual cost of taking care of a horse happens to be, besides having the stall, land to graze, and then feed, and then vet, and then, of course, there are entry fees as well. I mean, how much does it take?
We try not to think too much about it. It'd get depressing if you go to figuring all your vet bills and stuff like that, just because the expenses are so high. And then another big expense, rodeoing, which for especially college kids, don't have a job or whatever, or a full-time job, is just diesel fuel, just getting to and from the rodeos. With diesel at $4 a gallon.
Yeah, and we didn't even start to talk about a truck. I mean,
truck, trailer.
I mean, you're into some really big money to be a rodeo, a cowboy, cowgirl.
Yep, it's for sure a luxury.
And then, of course, you have to take your horse to the next rodeo. So where have you been this year?
As far as college rodeos go, we got 3 college rodeos left. So we've got 7 already behind us. Just recently, we was in Poplarville, Mississippi last week. There was, it's about a 7-hour drive down there. So that was pretty costly for the athletes.
Who pays the fuel bill to go to rodeos?
So each student's responsible for their travel. Just like they was rodeoing professionally or at the amateur level. We do benefit, or I guess reward some of them. Our higher point earners, they get some travel money each week to travel to and from the rodeos, and it's not a lot. It helps, but it don't cover all their expenses.
In the course of the year, and we'll talk about scholarships in a moment, in the course of a year, what's the investment?
Like as far as on the athlete?
Yes.
So, well, I mean, you got membership dues. The membership dues are like $270 a year, and then their entry fees, if they're in one event, are $90. If they're in each additional event past that, $65. So it depends on how many events they work, what events they work. There's a lot of variables to that. I couldn't put a number on it, even per weekend.
Yeah, this is what I don't think people realize, the amount of money that has to be invested to be a cowboy, cowgirl. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, you're not on your horse maybe 15, 20 seconds in the ring.
Yeah.
And you've spent $90 right there to get your horse to run the barrels, for example, or goat tying. I'm talking, of course, the women. But in a big picture, it is, without any question, it's expensive. It's expensive. How do these young people get this? How do they get paid if they're going to college besides just
like you enter an open or pro rodeo, you pay entry fees. There's usually added money. You have a chance to win money back. At the college rodeos, generally there's no added money, but that we still win money back for the top places, whether it be 3 or 4. It just depends on how many is entered in each event. Mm-hmm. And that helps a lot. Several of them on the team work part-time jobs. No, I don't know of anybody that would have a full-time job. But I do know several that work pretty much all summer just to keep money together so they can rodeo on during the semester.
A lot of times mom and dad try to chip in.
Mom and dad have to help out some. It takes kind of everybody and helping you along the way, especially when you don't have a full-time job. If you're not winning, if you're winning, things are great. But
UT Martin Rodeo coach Chase Thrasher is our guest today. We're talking about a lot of different subjects here on the subject of the UT Martin Rodeo, which will be coming up here in just a couple of weeks, and we'll talk more about that in a couple of moments. So your students, you have to be a student to be on the rodeo team, correct? Mm-hmm. And do they live in the dorms, or, I mean, we're talking about a first-year freshman.
So a first-year freshman, they do require them to live on the dorms. There is small chances a few of them get exempt to live off campus. Last year, I guess the dorms was filling up, and they exempted a few of them to live off campus. But generally, they have to live on campus as freshmen, and then after their freshman year, they're allowed to live off campus or return back.
Yeah, and how much time do they get to spend with their horse?
So most of them are pretty much, if they're not in class or studying, they're out at the barns with their horses. Mm-hmm. At least, I'd say probably average 3 or 4 hours a day.
Can you share with our listeners about what they do to take care of their horse?
So you feed in the morning. If they's in a stall, you have to clean stalls every morning, water them, give them hay, give them grain. Most of them try and turn them out either at night in the turnouts or they turn them out during the day. So then you got to find you open turnout, take them down there and turn them out. Make sure there's hay and water down there for them. And then at some point during the day, they'll exercise them. If they're rope horses or goat horses, they might practice with them to keep them tuned up, keep them sharp, and then repeat that night on the feeding and watering and cleaning. And if it's wintertime, you got to blanket them and everything else. So there's a lot that goes into it.
You know, just hearing this commitment, and I do have family members that have horses, but this is a big commitment when you're a student, and then you've got that's a full-time job. I mean, let's be honest, 3-4 hours a day, and then going to school 3 or 4 hours a day, and then leaving on maybe Thursday for a rodeo, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And, I mean, the commitment is extremely high.
Yep, you have to eat up with it and dedicated to it. For one, just to do it, but to be successful at it, it has to be a priority for sure.
How important is it to have a support staff such as Booster Club in many respects?
The Booster Club is great. We couldn't say enough good about them. They do a lot for me. They help the transition from Coach Luthi to me out a lot because they obviously knew everything that went into the rodeo. And then as far as financially, they do a lot to fundraise scholarship money for us to help, obviously recruit kids and be able to do what we do out there. They help with maintenance and stuff we need around the facility too.
Mm-hmm. I was 14 years old when the rodeo began. I'm turning 70. So here we are, 56 years into this rodeo. It's come from being out in a field to a pavilion that everybody is jealous of what UT Martin has.
Yeah, the Ned Warder Ag Pavilion is a huge blessing for us. It's as nice of a facility as you could ask for to put a rodeo in, and then by the time you fill the stands with sold-out crowds, there's no better place on earth on a Friday or Saturday night.
Am I correct on this, that the Ag Pavilion has something going on in it 50 weeks out of the year, maybe 51?
It's booked the majority of the time, I guess, monster trucks to, I think last year there was go-kart races in there to ag events. Our Booster Club, they'll have barrel races in there to help fundraise for the rodeo team. And then there's a big roping, been there for 3 years now in February. memorial open for one of the boys that was on the team.
Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about a commitment there also. Who takes care of the Ag Pavilion?
So the Ag Pavilion was under athletic the Ag department. Now it has switched hands into athletics, which should be great for us. Means more practice time, more availability for us. We share it with the equestrian team. They also practice in there, and it takes a lot to keep the place cleaned up and running and operating.
I'm not going to put you out of your comfort zone here, but the equestrian team is doing pretty well this year, too.
They're doing very well. They're in California right now, I believe, competing.
So the horse went by truck to...
So,
I don't want to put you in the hot spot here.
Not 100% certain on how it works detail-wise, but my understanding is, so like if we go, or if Martin's equestrian team goes to compete out there, they compete on a set of horses that are already out there. Because where we're judged on time, they're judged on horsemanship or like the way they ride a horse, the way they handle a horse, so they want you on a fresh horse.
Mm-hmm.
The one that you're not familiar with, to see how well you listen to the horse and react with the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different ball game.
Yeah. If you've just joined us, Chase Thrasher is our guest today here on 30 Minutes, and we're talking about a couple of things that are very important here to the city of Martin, West Tennessee, and this is the annual Spring College Rodeo. Before I get to that, let me follow up with another question. The most important thing that I heard Coach Luthi talk about, and I feel confident by saying the same thing about you, that the students that come here are not just coming here so they can rodeo. They're coming here to get a degree from the University of Tennessee at Martin, which if you don't have your grades, there's another issue right there.
Yep. Coach Luthi was big on it's college rodeo, not rodeo college. That college comes first. And then with that, obviously, like any other sporting or athletics, you have to maintain a certain GPA to be able to rodeo and be in so many hours to be considered a full-time student. So college definitely comes first.
All right. So the Ag Pavilion will be the host again for the college rodeo here at the University of Tennessee at Martin. There are several things that will take place prior to the rodeo, and you will take a couple of moments and maybe share those because every one of those is important.
So Wednesday night we start off with what used to be the crawfish upper, Wednesday, April 10th. It'll now be a shrimp boil.
And the reason for that?
The main factor behind it is just the cost of crawfish has went up so much, mm-hmm. and the availability, or mm-hmm. lack of availability, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And shrimp's not cheap either. So,
no, shrimp's not cheap.
But it's good to eat, and it's always, and of course you have hot dogs.
Hot dogs and hamburgers. And then
where does this is this going to stay at the same place?
It'll be at the Legion.
Yeah, American Legion.
Just like it's always been. There will be live music this year, I've been told.
That means you're going to have some cowboys singing a little bit, maybe?
I don't know about that. I think there's an outside act coming in. All right. I don't think no cowboys are going to be singing. Thursday, April 11th, starts off the rodeo with the Tyson O'Brien County Complex performance. We have Garrett Yerrigan returning this year. Dusty Myers will be our funny man. Friday, April 12th, Tennessee Tractor performance. Both start at 7:30. And then Saturday will be the second annual Kids Rodeo. We did a Kids Rodeo last year. It's more of a meet and greet with the kids. We'll have some activities related around rodeo for them, completely free. Come meet the team, hang out with everybody, meet some of the rodeo personnel while you're there, and then hang out. And at 11:30, the Butcher Club free barbecue will be also in the Ag Pavilion, free to anybody. And then that night, the Martin Paving Championship round of the college rodeo starts at 7:30.
You know, the thing about the rodeo, first off, kids. I mean, kids love the rodeo. Can you tell me, as a child, as a young person, why so many people want to bring their kids there? Is it because of the bulls, or is it because of the goats, or is it because of the atmosphere? What is it?
So I don't guess I can speak for everybody, but for me as a kid growing up, obviously I was around the sport a lot, but the big thing for me is just being around the animals. The livestock is a big part of it, I feel like. I think every little kid loves a horse. I don't feel like there's anybody who just like hates horses.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has a big play in. Yeah.
You know, and I think the fun part about it is you have the opportunity to get the crowd involved with what goes on, and that's part of because you got a good barrel man.
Yep, our barrel man's great. Little transition from this year. Dusty, coach always rotated barrel men in and out every, I think, 3 years, and last year was the third year for Brinson, and we went back with Dusty this year. Dusty's a great barrel man. He's currently won the PRCA Barrel Man of the Year, also the Specialty Act of the Year this year too, which is the top honor for the barrel man in the industry.
If you've just joined us, Chase Thrasher, the UT Martin Rodeo coach, is with us here today. Who's your assistant coach? Who are the people behind the scenes that help you?
So my assistant coach is George Meismer, a legend in Martin himself. He was on the rodeo team here, had great success when he was in college, made it to the NFR in the bareback riding. If you've ever met George, I think you can agree that there's not a better man probably in the state of Tennessee, or maybe even the country, than George Meismer.
Mm-hmm. Take us through something that people will ask about and what it is. You have how many events that you have, or is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure that rodeo hasn't changed much. So what are the events that you're dealing with?
So there's 9 events, 3 rough stock, which is bareback riding, saddle bronc riding, and bull riding. And then on the timed event end, you got calf roping, breakaway, steer wrestling, team roping, goat tying, and barrel racing.
Mm-hmm. And in that, what is it that stirs them up outside of the bulls? What is it that they get stirred up about?
I don't know if there's a event that really draws, certain event that draws. It's more, to me, I feel like the crowd wakes up when the competition's good, when the livestock's good, times are fast, scores are high. Something that I feel like gets pointed out quite a bit that's unique about Martin and our rodeo is, for one, the crowd, obviously, but two, the fact that it don't matter if you're from Martin competing or you're from a different school competing. If you do good, the crowd gets behind you and supports you, and I think that's great.
What schools will be here, if you know?
So it's kind of a long list. You got Missouri Valley out of Marshall, Missouri, Pearl River out of Poplarville, Mississippi, Northwest Mississippi, UWA, Murray, Three Rivers, and then I'm sure I've skipped over.
You essentially
some.
have them from Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. I'm thinking Georgia, yes, or Illinois. I'm just trying to remember.
I believe there's some individuals that compete for colleges in Georgia, but there's not a team in Georgia currently.
Yeah, it's not that I'm too terribly prejudiced here, but I love the barrels, and I love the goat tying, and, of course, everybody loves bulls.
Yeah.
And can you tell us how tough it is to sit on that bull?
I can't. I've never rode bulls. I do know it takes a lot of balance, takes being very physically fit, and obviously mentally strong or mentally weak, I guess, because I don't know how smart it is to ride bulls. But
and you got to be on for how many seconds?
You got to remain on the bull for 8 seconds. But I feel like a lot of people think that it's mostly power and strength, but as much of it's just being in balance and staying with them.
I'll ask you the question that how dangerous is being a cowboy, cowgirl?
It depends. If you're alert and you pay attention and you've been around it, your risk, obviously, like anything else, goes down. Being fairly new or inexperienced with it, your risks are higher. And a lot of it, majority of the time, just has to do with the people that you're around. So, like, riding bulls is dangerous, but as long as you got good bullfighters, which we have two of the best bullfighters in the world at our rodeo.
And they are?
Mark Weber and Cody Emerson. As long as your bullfighters know what they're doing, they can keep just about anybody safe.
Yeah, I don't know that people realize just how important what that man out there in the barrel is about, because he has saved lives.
Yep. So you got Mark and Cody, which will be your bullfighters, and then they're the ones that the rider hits the ground. They're putting themselves in between the bull and them, or but themselves between the rider and the bull, and trying to distract the bull to get him away from the rider while the rider gets to the fence. And then you got Dusty in the clown barrel to, if things went awry, they can use the barrel as defense or whatever they need to do.
Tickets, people will ask about those. Your turn.
So Saturday night, I looked last night. It's getting pretty close to sold out. Friday night still has a few left, and Thursday have quite a few left there. Thursday night ticket cost is $12. Friday and Saturday it's $20. Those of y'all that remember last year we charged for parking. This year there will be no charge for parking.
Yeah. And we want to remind everybody about the Rodeo Booster Club free barbecue at 11:30. This is on Saturday morning, April 13th, in the Ned McWhorter Ag Complex. A barbecue plate, barbecue, baked beans, chips, and drink. And, yes, you get to meet the rodeos. I got to meet those rodeo team members. So you get the last word, Coach.
About the only thing we didn't mention is there is a live stream. If you can't make it out to the rodeo, you can go to UTMsports.com. I think it's /rodeo, and click on the link, same place you buy the tickets, and for $10 you can watch the perf from the house.
And you can also listen to it, as you know, Coach, for us doing this all these years, and that is, in fact, live on the radio on Star 95.1 and, of course, on our app and Thunderbolt Radio. So you can listen to it wherever you happen to be. If you're traveling down the highway, you can hear it on the radio in Oklahoma, if you wish. So much to say about the rodeo. And, again, let's tell them when it is and where it will be and what you expect to see.
So the rodeo is April 11th through the 13th at the Ned Ray McWhorter Agriculture Complex. Performances start each night at 7:30. You can expect to see some great competition and the best rodeo personnel in the industry. Recap on that, we got Garrett Yergin, two-time announcer of the PRCA Announcer of the Year, and Dusty Myers, Barrelman of the Year. That'll be entertaining you all night and keeping you up to date as the rodeo goes.
Just a couple of weeks away, everybody. I hope you can make it out to the Ag Pavilion on the UT Martin campus. And it takes place again, as Coach said, the 11th through the 13th. Hope you can make it there. But more importantly, say prayers for our cowboys and cowgirls. For your likings and for your entertainment, they do the very best that they can do and put themselves out there many, many times over, because there are some things that get really hot and heavy, and we want everybody to come out of that ring the same way they went into it. We'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks so much, Coach Thrasher. It's a pleasure to have you here on the radio today. Chase Thrasher, the UT Martin Rodeo coach. The UT Martin Rodeo, again, Wednesday the 10th through 13th. On Saturday, it's at the University of Tennessee at Martin in the Ned McWhorter Ag Pavilion in Martin, Tennessee. This is Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded. Thanks for listening, everybody.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.